everybody? Welcome back to the Tackling Basketball Podcast. My name is Evan.
I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Micah.
Thank you all for tuning in. We have a fun episode ahead of us. Of course, going to be talking about the NFL Draft, which just happened. We're talking about the NBA Postseason. Round 1 is happening right now. Some of the series have already finished. Some series have 3-1s, 2-2s, whatever. So we'll be chatting through all of that. And then trivia is back on the docket. But we'll, as usual, start things out with some toast and roast. So, Jonathan, who are you toasting this week?
Yeah, today I am toasting the built, not bought franchises of the NBA. Sort of the teams who embraced the strategy of draft, develop, don't try to take any shortcuts. And at least the ones who, so far, it seems to be working out really well. And that is the Boston Celtics, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Denver Nuggets, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. We will be releasing this podcast probably after the first round is over, but so far the Celtics have not yet ended the series. But it's looking likely that these 4 teams will have combined 2 total losses in the first round, which is pretty spectacular. Whereas you look at teams who were bought, not built, like the Los Angeles Lakers, the Los Angeles Clippers, and the Phoenix Suns. Clippers are still in their series, very much so, but the 2 got swept and gentlemen swept, and the Clippers don't look like they have strong chances in this playoffs, despite going way all in to sort of take that shortcut. So it's just a really good sign for both. I know Boston is on this list, but it's a good sign for the smaller market teams that you are able to take this strategy of building through the draft, developing, building up your culture, and that you are able to claim a really good franchise as a result. Boston is the odd one out here where they are the second or third biggest franchise in the league. But they have been doing it right too. And I'm just excited for the future of the NBA, where it looks like these 4 teams are the 4 teams right now. So,
yeah.
Only counter I have to you is that a lot of the assets that Boston has, they were able to gain because they flipped Kyrie Irving. Or did Kyrie leave in free agency? Did they?
I think Kyrie left in free agency.
Was it free agency?
But I mean, they already had.
Yeah, they already had Tatum and Smart and Brown. Yeah. But
I mean, all of these teams
they've all made some trades.
Yeah, you have to. Like
Thunder were almost bought, or they weren't actually bought. They were built, then rebuilt. But that rebuild was largely through trades, which allowed them to do things. The Nuggets got Aaron Gordon out of a trade. The Timberwolves got Rudy Gobert out of a trade.
For so much.
Which
is finally starting to look okay.
Yeah.
It's still so much to give them. Still probably overpaid, but
that's probably
they look incredible. So,
but yeah, all of these teams built their main core, and then they bought some extra pieces because you do need to push the chips in at some point. But they did a lot to get their team to where they are today, just through patience and development.
Yeah. It's also interesting, the comparison between like the Nuggets and everyone else, because like Timberwolves, Thunder, and Boston, they're best guys if you like we're taking, top of the draft sort of dudes. Outside of MPJ for the Nuggets, everybody are guys that it's like, wow, can't believe that guy panned out.
Jamal was taken 7th overall, MPJ at 14th.
Okay.
Jokic obviously 41st, Aaron Gordon 4th, but traded for. But yeah, for the most part, like throughout this run for the Nuggets and throughout their lull, throughout their worst times, the earliest that they ever drafted was 7th overall. So it's a little bit of a weird thing that they were able to put these pieces together in. But
yeah, good for them.
Their current coach was fired from his first head coaching job after one season. And the Nuggets had the patience to stick it out with him. So
props to them. All right. For my toast, I mean, Jonathan just kind of also toasted them, but I'm going with the Minnesota Timberwolves because of what they just did to the Phoenix Suns. I mean, this is a team going into this season that I think people expected them to be in the playoffs. They were very close last year. It's not like people were thinking they were going to miss playoffs or be in the play-in for the most part, but no one expected them to be this high of a seed, and no one expected them to go in and sweep the Kevin Durant-led Phoenix Suns. They look phenomenal, and the scary part is that the Timber Pups is still a pretty apt name because they are, besides Mike Conley and Rudy Gobert, pretty young team overall.
Yeah.
And not hating on Mike Conley, but he is replaceable. So I think they can find someone to take up the slack when he retires.
Mike Conley has been huge for them.
He's been really good this last year.
He's been pretty crucial.
No, he's been great, but you can draft someone to replace or at least come close to what Mike Conley does for you. It's not like Anthony Edwards is going to be leaving soon and you're like, God, we need to try and replace him. If the Timberwolves play it right, Anthony Edwards will be in Minnesota for a very long time, which is exciting for them.
And if he's not, I don't really see anyone to replace him. He is beyond special right now.
Yeah. So, props to the Timberwolves. It's got to feel so good for Timberwolves fans right now after being the laughing stock of the NBA for so long. Like they were essentially
first series win in like 20 years.
Yeah, it was the longest drought, I think, active.
Yeah. So props to them. I'm very excited for this team to see how far they can make a run this year. And then over the next 3, 4, 5 years, very excited to see how Kat and Anthony Edwards pair to lead this team in the future. So props to them.
For sure.
Yeah.
Pretty similar. I'm toasting the Oklahoma City Thunder, who also swept a team.
Yeah.
The only two teams to sweep these playoffs so far. And while I think the Timberwolves sweep is more impressive doing it against Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, whereas OKC did it to the Suns without Zion, it's still incredibly impressive for this young of a team, the youngest team to ever get a first seed, and just one of the youngest teams in history to be in the playoffs and be good, to come out and never slow down, never really stop, never show signs of being a young team that doesn't know how to play in the playoffs. Like, they had some close games, but they still closed every one of them out. And additionally, this is just a fun team. I think it was at the end of Game 3, they were trying to interview – TNT was trying to interview, I think it was Jalen Williams, and he just walked right past the TNT broadcaster to be with his teammates to do the local broadcast because they always do it together.
Man, that was amazing.
TNT was just confused. Like, where is he going? Like, this team is having so much fun together and is doing it dominantly. Like, it is impressive to do both. Like you said, Evan, about the Timberwolves, like, this is going to be a team that is really good for a really long time. Their only issue is going to be in a few years figuring out who to pay and how much and what sacrifices you're going to make. But that is a problem you are happy to have as an organization like the Thunder, who are winning right now, which is insane.
It's okay. Sam Presti has 50 to 100 first round picks to work with over the next 20 years. So
true.
He's trading them away for pennies on the dollar now because he bought too many.
He bought too many, and in 3 years, when he has to start paying people, he's just going to go, who wants a player for more picks?
It's better than what Game of Zones was doing with the I think it was the Brooklyn Nets. I was like, bring us your bus, we'll buy him. Alan Crab, we finally got you. And the horse that does horse things.
Yeah, speaking of teams that play well together and really, really like each other, let's talk a little bit about the Lakers, but more about LeBron and his legacy right now, which I think over the last couple of seasons has really become damaged in a way that, like, you see what the Nuggets have done to them recently is what a lot of people will focus on. They have the Lakers have lost 12 of their last 13 games against the Nuggets, including a back-to-back sweep and then gentleman's sweep in the playoffs. Just a complete dismantling of that franchise, and to have that degree of failure, to not be able to finish out games where you've led by at least 10 points in every single game this series, and you still lost in 5 games. That is a failure, but it's not what I'm talking about. LeBron's legacy of success is greater than these last 2 seasons of failure, but they reveal a pattern. And that pattern is that LeBron James joins a young team that is starting to show some promise, and then he has a little bit of success with them up front. Then he starts to try and control everything. He starts to try to play the GM, trade away a bunch of assets, trade away Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, trade for a couple of guys that aren't very successful. He starts to try and be the head coach, make Darvin Ham a figurehead. He reports are that before this last game, Game 5, he had a private meeting without Darvin Ham present saying, guys, I am the head coach of this team. Don't listen to Darvin. I'm in charge, which is just a terrible thing. And then after he is brought dissent upon his team, after he has had the GM, the front office, fundamentally change the makeup of the team, after it becomes a shell of what it was when he joined them, then he leaves to do it all over again. We saw this in his last year in his first stint with the Cavs was the 09-010 season. And in the 10-11 season, the Cavs record was 19-63. Just a complete dismantling, a completely different roster. It's not just LeBron was gone, and therefore it was a lot of that, but also he made the team worse over time. Then the year after he left the Miami Heat in 2014-2015, their record, if my internet will work, 37-45. Best time that any team has ever had after LeBron. I think that this was probably his cleanest break. They were able to hold on to Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade. But just then Cavaliers' second stint after that concluded. 2018-19 season, 19-63 record, finished 14th in the Eastern Conference. And now he is set up to potentially do it again. There are rumors, he said after his post-game press conference, that he's not going to speak about his future right now. And there's a lot of signs pointing to him declining his player option and trying to find the next team to probably have one really great year with, and then slowly pick apart.
I think most of what you said is incredibly fair. I will say when he left the Cavs the first time, they were already a trash team. Him leaving is obviously horrible, but they didn't have much to begin with.
It's true.
Second time he came, I don't think anyone in Cleveland is going to blame him for leaving and breaking it apart, because he brought them a championship, which they were longing for a long time. Again, agree with everything you said. I just feel like it's very harsh. LeBron is still probably the second greatest player of all time. He does do things very poorly. The way he leads, the way he tries to be the coach, everything obviously horrible. But when he comes, he still brings championships to every team he comes to. And as a Blazers fan who's never seen a championship, I would be happy if someone came, won a championship, and blew it up.
That's fair.
I just want to see a championship.
Yeah, like I don't have anything bad that I can say about him as an individual player. I just have a lot of problems with how he handles the organization as a whole, and how he sort of tries to bully everything into being exactly what he wants. The way that he was trying to bully the league into giving the team who has the highest foul call disparity in the league more foul calls, because he couldn't figure out another reason why they blew a 20-point lead. I think that he's probably the second best player of all time. I think that before he showed me this pattern, he was easily in the conversation for the first best player of all time, and now he's kind of fallen back for me. And I don't think second best is his goal. So,
yeah. I think I'd agree with that. You can definitely use this as something to knock him in comparison to Jordan. Like, Jordan as a player definitely knew his place. He knew his place was on the court and helping to win games that way. It wasn't in the front office. It wasn't trying to, I mean, he would quote unquote coach occasionally, but at the same time, he knew Phil Jackson was the guy and was the coach of that team. And if you look at those Bulls rosters where they won all those championships, it was essentially the exact same roster every single year, and they just went and won. Like, the only real changes was you swapped out Paxton for Steve Kerr, you swapped out a couple of other random guys, but it was essentially Pippen, Jordan, Rodman, and they just went out and did it. So that is definitely something you can kind of knock LeBron a little bit for overall. But
yeah,
as we've said before, the GOAT debate is also stupid anyway. So
yep.
A little bit, yeah.
100% stupid. It's the worst thing. I hate it so much.
All right. Well, for my roast, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills, and we'll be chatting about draft grades here in just a sec. But I won't be Buffalo Bills during my grades, so I'm going to roast them here. Bills, what the hell were you guys doing in the first round? That was after the Falcons taking Penix. I think the Bills trading out of the first round, especially to the Chiefs, was the most confusing move of the night. Like, trading out of the first round in and of itself, if you just take that is already confusing. You need a wide receiver. Josh Allen currently has Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox to throw to. Their receiving core is non-existent. You need a wide receiver. And at that time, they had the chance to go grab the fastest guy in the draft with great hands, which, if you've seen Josh Allen's arm, is literally the perfect guy to give Josh Allen. But not only do you trade it away, you trade it away to the team that year in and year out beats you in the playoffs. And after Josh Allen is probably the most well-equipped quarterback to have that speedy guy with Patrick Mahomes, and you just gave him to him. So you trade back to the end of the first round, and then you trade again into the second with the Panthers and let the Panthers take the second fastest guy after the first fastest guy. It just doesn't make any sense. So they eventually drafted a wide receiver, but just it makes no sense what they were doing. They just look like idiots, and they made the Chiefs better, and I don't understand it.
Quick reminder for everyone. Back in the Patrick Mahomes draft, the Bills owned that pick, and they traded back with the Chiefs. And I feel like that fan base as a whole there were two kinds of fans. One of them said, I don't know why the Chiefs are always beating us. And the other one said, why do we keep giving the Chiefs everything they need to beat us? It's the dumbest thing ever. And beyond that, I just wasn't impressed with their draft either. They are one of the few teams who, according to ESPN, addressed every single need that the team had. But what's the one thing that's worse than not addressing your needs? It's addressing them and failing. And I sort of suspect that most of these draft picks are not going to be like top tier guys by any means. I don't think a lot of them will even be starters in this league. So the biggest failure of organizations in the draft is addressing the same position continually and unsuccessfully. If you continue to throw assets away, then you're just not going to get further. And I think that they had an opportunity to address some needs fairly well, and then they sort of forfeited that while also making their biggest rival better, which is just a complete failure.
It's like the Bills GM heard the moniker that great quarterbacks can make wide receivers better, and he was like, well, let's let Josh prove it. And it's like, but why would you make him prove it? Just go get a receiver, damn it.
No, we're just going to give up Stephon Diggs for pennies. That seems better.
All right, Micah, over to you for the final roast of the day.
What a graphic. I'm roasting both Russell Westbrook and Bobby Portis for both in the first round getting ejected in their playoff games. Bobby Portis was the way more egregious one, not in his action and what he did, but for putting him in a position to get ejected. This was in game 4 where you already don't have Giannis, already don't have Dame. He's probably your 4th best player after Middleton. Like, what he does for the Bucks is incredibly important. And he tossed himself out for being an idiot and trying to slap someone in the face. Like, obviously, playoff emotions are high. You should be chippy. You should be trying really hard. I get that they have a history with Indiana, but you cannot do that. Like, you can't do it. And same with Russell Westbrook, who's in a really tight series. This was in game 3. You did have Kawhi Leonard, so it's not like you were like super injury prone, but still, you are a key piece of this team. They need you on the floor, and getting in a fight with someone for absolutely nothing is just idiotic. You have to be there. You have to play for your team, especially for Bobby Portis, who's missing the 2 best people on the team already.
Yeah. Completely agree. I'm not sure there's much else to say. That though, let's shift over to NFL draft grades. We're doing this a little unique. We obviously didn't want to go through and grade all 32 teams because that would be probably our longest episode ever. So instead, we're just going to give you our top 3 grades, our bottom 3 grades, and then we're each going to grade as well our 3 favorite teams: the Packers, the Broncos, the Dolphins, just because those are the teams we know the best and we like talking about them. So we're going to start out with our top grades here, and let's start. We all have a little bit of a different list, but let's start with the Philadelphia Eagles, since we all have the Eagles in our top 3 here. Micah, tell us why the Eagles received your highest grade of the draft.
I feel like part of it was them just getting lucky with the people that fell to them. They had so many people that I cannot believe fell to the place that they did. Quinyon Mitchell, for one, absolutely incredible. Cooper DeJean, who I think they traded up for to get. Both just incredible talents that are going to really bolster your defense. And then everyone else they got, it's like, I feel like these people can right away be introduced into your system and can produce for you. And as a team who's trying to win now, I feel like they kind of got lucky with who fell to them, but also did the right thing and picked the right guys. So
you pretty just summed up like the Eagles' last 3 drafts. I don't know how he keeps pulling this off, but he keeps having the best.
They keep getting away with it.
It's so annoying and stupid. I will say though, this is the first time in 3 years that the Eagles didn't take a Georgia player in the first round. So hey, way to go, Howie, in changing your tendencies. But yeah, the Eagles just had a very solid draft. They didn't really make any big splashy moves, but they didn't need to. It just kind of everything worked out for them. Realistically, they're already a very good team. It's not like they have many big holes they need to fill. So it's just kind of a depth draft for them, as well as just replacing some retired guys. So way to go, Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, Their defense is pretty good already, but their biggest hole on the entire team is at the corner position. And I think they walked away with, in my mind, the first and second best corner in the draft. 2 day one starters. And if they live up to their potential, it is immediately scary. But then you also you draft well throughout, picking up needs, but also going for just best available, those aligning too often. So really good draft.
Yep. All right, next we'll go, Jonathan, you and I will hit on the Cardinals since those are our top 2 grades. I have them up there, obviously coming with Marvin Harrison Jr., best receiver in the draft, is huge. I give them major props for not trading back in the draft because I honestly don't think that the package the Vikings or the Giants or the Raiders could have given them would have been worth what Marvin Harrison Jr. is worth. And then after Marvin Harrison, again, kind of like the Eagles, I just think that they picked smart the entire rest of the draft. They took needs. They took good value at every single pick. I don't think there's a single pick on their list that you're like, there might have been someone better there. Like, just overall, very solid draft for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I agree. Solid draft capital, first of all. They had 2 day one picks and then 5 day 2 picks. And then they capitalized on their draft capital, which is very needed for this roster. It's pretty lacking, and you're hoping that you'll be able to provide with Marvin Harrison Jr. and a little bit of extra boost to your the rest of your offense with a solid tackle, running back, and tight end all taken on day 2. You're hoping to give Kyler Murray every chance to prove himself one last time. So we'll see what they wind up doing next year. At a minimum, they are setting themselves up for the future no matter who their quarterback is. And in the best case scenario, they are proving that Kyler Murray can be a good quarterback in this league and building around him. So either way, though, it's successful.
Yep, for sure. All right, Michael, we'll jump over to you with the Los Angeles Rams at your second highest grade. Why you have them there?
I have them there. I really liked their pick, Jared Verse, in the first round. Not that anyone in this draft can really replace Aaron Donald, who they lost it. But is someone who right away can come in and produce for them. I also really liked them getting Blake Corum at running back. Just getting a running back. They already have a lot of passing talent with Kupp and Goff and Puka Nacua. I liked them getting a running back. And honestly, most importantly, they drafted someone who I did a prospect for at the beginning earlier. Joshua Carty, kicker out of Stanford. This guy's going to be the GOAT. I'm telling you. His ceiling is Justin Tucker, and they're going to get it. So props to them for getting a kicker in round 6.
Is Robert Aguayo. Because kickers are hard as hell to scout.
He's so good, though.
I hadn't looked at the Rams list until just now, and I saw Cardi's name on there, and I was like, that's exactly why Michael put them at an A.
Yeah.
I love it. I respect it. I think, like you said, they had a lot of draft capital, mainly late round picks, but I think they used them pretty wisely. Definitely bolstered that defense, which was a need for them. Pretty much every team this year who needed defense in the first round were loving it because all of those offensive players went first, and so many defensive guys dropped to teams where they realistically shouldn't have dropped to. So, all right. Well, we each have a different third highest grade. Jonathan, we'll start with you. Why you got the Patriots?
I have them largely for their first 2 picks in the draft. First one being Drake May, who was, in my mind, an obvious pick with the candidates you had left, but also in my mind, the second best quarterback in the class, and they got him as the third one off the board. Just a really serious talent, I think, able to place the ball well, able to sort of control the offense, and high talent guy. Then they in the second round picked up Jalen Polk, who I have as probably the 4th highest rated wide receiver in this class, which is higher than most people. but it is also a very deep and talented draft. So I think to take him where they did after so many other wide receivers had already gone off the board is pretty good praise for a team that desperately needed one and also really needs to be able to support their young quarterback if they want to see him develop. Outside of that, they picked up more talent on the offensive line and then another wide receiver and tight end in the later rounds, just to try and really give Drake May the protection and options that he needs, which I don't think a lot of these later candidates are necessarily stunning, but I grade the later rounds less important anyway because they're a lot harder to get right. So just taking shots where they need to take shots and hoping to maybe not be irrelevant next year.
They'll still be irrelevant.
Yeah, probably.
Hopefully.
All right. Mike, over to you for the Saints.
Yeah. If the goal was to get just fantastic names, New Orleans got an A+. Talise Fuaga, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Bub Means, Spencer Rattler's pretty cool too. Come on. That's awesome. But additionally on just talent that they got, I really like Fuaga. I apologize for however that's supposed to be pronounced. As an interior offensive line. Is that what the I stands for?
It is what the I stands for. I'm seeing him as a tackle, though.
I have him as IOL. Huh. But regardless, I also really like the Spencer Rattler pickup coming off of, I think he's a really solid prospect at that pick to kind of back up Derek Carr. You don't know. Like, Derek Carr's kind of iffy. You don't know how long he's going to last. Getting, I think, a QB of Spencer Rattler's talent at round 5. Obviously, you don't know how well that's going to work out, but I think that was like a good placement for him. And then I like who they got. Kool-Aid McKinstry, I think, is a really good quarterback. But mostly their names, I think, are really, really cool.
Jalen Ford playing on which side of the ball?
I go. It was round 5.
He's a linebacker, Micah. What side are they on?
It's defense.
Okay.
I do.
Definitely not something I Googled last night.
I do agree with you. I really like the Spencer Rattler pickup, especially Adam Schefter came out and talked about it a little bit today. Most teams were grading Spencer Rattler at a 2nd to 3rd round pick. And so for the Saints to be able to get him in the 5th is awesome for them. Apparently, one of the main reasons he fell was because the two teams that were most in love with Spencer Rattler were the Atlanta Falcons and the Denver Broncos, who had already taken quarterbacks. And so, unfortunately for Spencer, he kind of got shafted by the fact that those teams had already taken a quarterback. I'm sure the Falcon situation must have frustrated the hell out of him. But yeah, I agree. Well, I don't have the Saints in my top 3. The Saints did have a very good draft for them. I'm not really sure, given the spots that they had. I'm not sure they could have really done any better necessarily. So
that's part of my problem with it, though, is they only had 2 picks before day 3. So not a lot that you can really go off of. And then I'm not in love with Fuaga. I think that he is mostly talented as a run blocker. He's struggling in the pass block, and that's just more important in this league. Now, maybe New Orleans wants to double down on the run game they have for the last few years, but not the guy in my mind. And then McKinstry, just got to feel a little bit disappointed that Quinyon Mitchell went right before that. So not ideal, but Kool-Aid McKinstry still has a chance at being pretty good in this league. So I have them meddling.
Yeah. All right, for my last one, I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers up there as my 3rd. Getting Troy Fontenot at the 20th overall pick. Just lucky that he fell that far, but just awesome for the Steelers. He, after Joe Alt, is my favorite tackle in this draft. I think Troy is absolutely phenomenal. Everybody says that he was a great leader at Washington, so I think he's going to be a great addition there for the Steelers. And then after that, I think that they just made a lot of smart picks. I like Zach Frazier there for center to help booster that O-line alongside Fontenot. Roman Wilson is a solid wide receiver prospect. Peyton Wilson's good at linebacker. So I think overall they did a good job of addressing their needs. You kind of look at where each guy was picked, and they got very good value at each pick, which is always good. They at no point reached heavily on anybody, which is outstanding. So I think this is one of those drafts that can start to set the Steelers on the right path. And I think it was smart too. They did a lot of work to both bolster that O-line to help give Russell Wilson a little bit of protection, since he is past his days of just running around and making things happen, and he needs a bit of a better O-line. So, all right. All right, now over to the worst grades in the draft. And let's just start with the elephant in the room. How much did you guys hate the Michael Penix Jr. pick?
Just why? What are you doing?
Yeah. You just paid Kirk Cousins
So much money.
So much money. And like the only reason that I gave them that plus is because the Packers proved that it's maybe not a disaster to do this. But
the difference there is that like Roger has been around with the Packers for so long. Yes, he just got a contract, but it was an extension, so it's not really in the same vein of convincing a guy to upheave his family from the city that he's in, leave that fan base which loves him, takes his kids out of school, move across the country and give him all that money, and then essentially turn around and say, you're probably only going to get 2 out of the 4 years that we actually gave you. Like it's just so different. It's such a
while
slap
they are on the clock. That's when he was alerted that they were thinking about it.
And I think the video that you saw of the Falcons owner coming down into the draft room and just watching the video of the Falcons GM trying to explain the logic behind taking Penix is absolutely hilarious, because I think the owner represented all of the Falcons fan base in that moment of going, what are we doing? So, but then, even for me, outside of that pick, and obviously I think regardless of how well they did on the rest of their picks, they might still be the lowest for me, because that pick was just so dumb. But even after that, I didn't really love the rest of their draft either. I thought they just had a crap draft as a whole. Like they could have done the smart thing and taken Billy Turner at 8, which is what pretty much everybody on planet Earth thought they were going to do. And I still don't think they would have gotten a high grade. Their draft just kind of sucked.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, Jonathan, it seemed like during Toast and Roast you wanted to have at it with the Bills, so go for it.
I kind of already covered everything that I wanted to. They addressed all of their needs, but poorly. And they traded back for very little capital, giving assets to their main rival. Like, I don't think that this grade needs much more explaining beyond that. They've just made so many mistakes. And like, there's a real possibility that I am evaluating these players poorly, in which case their draft, because what they drafted aligns with their needs, jumps up a little bit in the rankings. But I don't think that's the case right now. So they're getting the C- from me.
Fair enough. All right, Michael, we both have the same second to last. Do you want to hit on why you have the Titans low?
You can go first.
Okay. For me with the Titans, it just seemed like at that number 7 overall, they kind of panicked with taking J.C. Latham. It just seemed weird to me, at least for me. I feel like on most people's boards, he was the 4th best offensive tackle in the draft. And pretty much a lot of people thought
they'd have Joe Alt.
Yeah, well, a lot of people thought they would either get Joe Alt if the Giants took J.J. McCarthy, or if the Giants or somebody else took Joe Alt, that the Titans would then trade back in the draft to get some additional assets, because they have so many needs right now and could take a solid tackle later. But they instead picked J.C. Latham, and it just doesn't really make any sense. To a degree, you probably could have traded back and still got Troy Fontenot, who is better, much better in my mind. So it was a dumb move. And then again, after that, they just didn't really have any phenomenal picks. T'Vondre Sweat is pretty nice. I like him as a defensive tackle, but overall, it was just kind of a question mark on what they were doing. They didn't really seem to have a great game plan for the draft. Micah, anything to add?
I don't have too much to add on that. Yeah.
All right. Well, Micah, how about you take the first swing at the Broncos, since we both have them third to last?
It just felt like I don't want to talk trash about Bo Nix because he's Oregon, gotta love him and support him. It just felt way too early, and you have so many needs as the Broncos. It felt weird to draft higher than you should to get someone, even if he's your guy. I think you should get the best value that's on the board, and Bo Nix just felt like not the right option, which was the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, I think that was my thing too. I know they were probably scared of the Raiders taking Bo Nix there right after them if they didn't take him there. But I think the Broncos probably would have been better suited to trade back, get some other assets, or just take someone else and punt on quarterback this year, roll with whoever that Zach Wilson, I guess, this year, and take other needs. Because I think the tough thing is, especially with Bo Nix, I think Bo Nix is talented. He has a lot of athletic ability. The tough part scouting wise, though, is that at Oregon, the offense was so simple and was based around quick passes that you don't really have any tape of Bo Nix actually going through read progressions, which is really tough because a lot of people are talking about the fact that Sean Payton has an offense that works for Bo Nix, and he probably does. But Drew Brees did a lot of mental thinking. It's not like Sean Payton's offense is some super simple thing. You have to be smart and go through reads and progressions and everything. And I think Bo can do it. It's just at Oregon, at least, there's just not a lot of examples of him doing it. So it definitely a reach, I feel, by the Broncos. Probably should have taken some other needed areas.
Yeah, I agree that I would not have taken Bo Nix. I disagree on most of what you said about Bo Nix. In my mind, strangely, he was the third best quarterback in the draft, and you would think that if he was the third best in the draft, that I would be all for it. But I think that if you look at what the Broncos were before the draft, and you look back 5 years ago at what the Chargers were before their draft when they got their Oregon guy, the Chargers had more draft capital. They had a better offense. They had a better defense. And then they picked up their Oregon quarterback, who had a fantastic rookie year, has had a really solid career, and is probably almost certainly a top 10 quarterback in the league. You hope that Bo Nix becomes that. The Chargers are bad. Do you really, as the Broncos, want to in a way leverage your future so that you might hope that maybe you might possibly be a worse version of the Chargers? I don't think they were ready for it. And a lot of people were like, well, if you don't take one this year, then you have to take one next year, and next year's class isn't very good. You don't have to take one next year. You don't have to take one the year after that. Take what falls to you, take what comes. I really wanted Quinyon Mitchell. But all that being said, I think that Bo Nix is a smart guy. I think that we saw that with a couple of things. One, Sean Payton saw that was his biggest compliment of Bo Nix, actually. They gave him a pretty sizable playlist to study the night before they brought him in for workouts. And the morning after, they quizzed him. He not only knew every single play, every single route, every single read, he knew why all of those were the reads. He understood Sean's offense, which is very impressive. But then you look at other statistics. First of all, short passes, quick passes, not inherently easy. You need to be able to read the defense pre-snap to be able to make those right reads. And he was excelling at that. And then secondly, he had by far the lowest sack percentage of the top 6 quarterbacks in this draft when under pressure. he was able to escape, make the right read, and either throw it away or get the ball downfield. So I think that he has a decent amount of potential. I think that he is pretty ready as well for the league. I just don't think the Broncos are ready. So, I see where you guys are coming from for sure.
All right, why don't you keep it rolling and talk about why the Chargers are so bad?
Speaking of being the worst version of, honestly, I kind of like their first pick. I think Joe Alt is the best tackle in the class, 100%. I think that he's going to be very talented, all-pro guy. I just, I don't know. There were a lot of really high caliber assets in this class. I probably would have gone league neighbors here, in all honesty. But in genuinely, I can't really fault their first pick. I can fault just about everything else, though. I don't think that they very well addressed any of their needs the rest of the draft, and I think that they got the wrong players the rest of the draft. Lad McConkey showed some flashes but those were all, I think, largely broken plays that his highlight reels came from. Junior Colson, I don't think, is a very dynamic linebacker. And then you get much further down the list into these 4th, 5th, 6th round picks, and you need to get lucky more than anything to hit on them. So I just think they got one guy that was not even necessarily the right guy, but he will be great. And it's not enough to really build this franchise to where it needs to go.
That's fair. I to a degree, I understood the comment from what the heck is their head coach's name? Why can't I think of his name right now? Jonathan, help me out. Harbaugh. Yeah, gosh. He did his interview after the draft and was like, "We view our linemen as weapons," when asked about why he didn't take a wide receiver. And I understand that to a bit. I get it. But yeah, I'm sure Justin Herbert's got to be a little bit frustrated that he still doesn't really have a good target to throw to. And if I was the Chargers, I feel like that would have been my immediate concern. At least, even if you take Joe Alt, of focusing on making sure you get some good wide receiver value with the rest of your picks, or at least a couple extra picks. And they just didn't do that. So poor Justin Herbert going to go through another year of just having bums to throw to and struggling to get a pass game going because his receivers can't catch a frickin' football.
Yeah. All
right. Now we'll jump over to our 3 favorite teams, which is a lot more fun to talk about. It's also fun because they all kind of came in at roughly the same grade for all of us. But Micah, we already hit on the Broncos. Jonathan, do you want to touch on the Broncos beyond what you already said a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. Because I think that if it were just Bo Nix in this draft, I would have agreed. It's probably a C+ thing. One of those things where if he is a absolute home run, then it's a good thing. Otherwise, it's not, and I'm not betting on the home run. But then you follow that up with Jonah Ellis, who I thought was a very talented edge rusher out of the 3rd round. Troy Franklin, who a lot of people projected as an early day 2 pick, falling all the way into early day 3, who, by the way, was Bo Nix's top target in college. And I think for good reason. He's got a fairly good route tree, mostly a deep route tree, and then really good top end speed as well. And then I liked a lot of these later picks. Obviously, since they're my favorite team, I scouted a little bit deeper than I did with other teams. And Audric Estime played largely against weaker talent, but really dynamic, really strong nose down running back. Vele is a shot at a wide receiver, which I never mock a shot in the 7th round. So overall, I think that if I'm being fully honest, probably a B- draft, but I think that they really put it together with a couple of these later picks, and they needed to hit on them. So hoping that it works out in their favor, but they're giving Bo Nix his guy, his shot, and I always like pairing a good quarterback with a good wide receiver. So
Yeah. Very fair. For the Packers, I guess I'll go first as the resident Packers fan. It was just kind of a not underwhelming draft for the Packers, but they don't really have any big splash needs right now. So it was just kind of you're a good team, fill the holes, get depth sort of a draft. And they did that kind of in some cases in maybe underwhelming fashion. Unfortunately, they weren't able to grab a top end corner, which was one of their bigger needs. They got sniped at pick number 24 by the Lions, who took Terrion Arnold, who I really wanted the Packers to take, but the Lions jumped him in the draft and snagged him, unfortunately. And then the Packers also got jumped again at pick 44 with the Eagles taking Cooper DeJean over the Packers.
That's
but
brutal.
In both cases, I like the way the Packers rebounded. I really like Jordan Morgan as an offensive tackle. He's a very good blindside tackle, and who should be able to come in and take over for David Bakhtiari. And then Edgerrin Cooper at linebacker, another big need for the Packers. Love him a lot as well. He was most people's number one guy on the board for linebacker, and the Packers were able to snag him. Javon Bullard as well at safety, very good pickup. Rest of the picks pretty meh. Which is why I think it gets a B. But decent draft by the Packers. I don't didn't make any big mistakes, but also didn't make any big splashes. So B.
Yeah. I think that Jordan Morgan doesn't have the arm length or the agility to succeed as a tackle in the league. I do think that he has the full kit to succeed as a guard. So it's for me, I want to see him transition to that position and do so successfully. If he does, then maybe I grade him individually a little bit higher. But as it stands today, I give him a B. Edgerrin Cooper, I think he's a solid linebacker with a fairly well-rounded kit. But overall, probably a B grade. Javon Bullard, B grade. B grade. I think every single one of these picks, I give a perfect B grade. And if you have nobody stand out, then I minus you. But I don't think it's a bad draft by any means. Yeah. I just think it's just nothing to really drop my jaw.
Micah, anything to add?
Not really. It felt like they made fine picks and nothing super exciting, which was pretty similar to how I felt about the Dolphins. And I'm just going to jump right in.
Speaking of transitions,
I liked getting Chop Robinson at our edge. I appreciate that 3 out of the first 4 picks were defensive, which is obviously our biggest weakness last season. The reason I gave a minus to my grade as a B minus was I don't really understand getting Jalen Wright at a running back, especially because during the offseason we re-signed Ahmed as our third string running back. And it's like after taking him, we already have Mostert and A-Chain, who I'm very high on, and then signing our third string, and then as our third pick getting another running back. I didn't feel like that's exactly what we needed. I think Jalen Wright could be really good, but I don't know how much of a difference he's going to make right now, and I feel like we should be drafting for right now. Got a couple other wide receivers that, again, I don't think are our biggest needs. But, again, we also signed a lot of defensive players in the offseason. So, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things no one really jumped too strongly out at me. Didn't have a lot of high picks, so I guess not much you can do to try to get those huge names, but I like that we went for defense. So
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised that the Dolphins didn't go quarterback in the later rounds. Just because Tua is, as we know, a little injury prone, and I feel like Skylar Thompson has shown that he is not necessarily the best backup quarterback in the world. So I was kind of surprised.
Tua was healthy all last season.
He was, but 1 out of 3-4 seasons so far is a little tough.
I get that, but I was expecting much worse considering the previous season.
That's fair. But when you look at the fact that the Packers took Michael Pratt out of Tulane in the 7th round, I just think, I don't know, instead of picking a wide receiver in the 6th for the Dolphins, going quarterback or, like you said, going defense might have made a little bit more sense for them. But again, overall, decent draft for the Dolphins. I feel like they plugged kind of the holes they needed to plug with the players they drafted and did what they need to do. They're already a good team, so not like you need a ton extra.
Yeah, I agree for the most part, except I think that a lot of these players are a lot better than we're sort of letting on. The Chop Robinson might be the best speed edge rusher in this class. It's a difficult archetype to scout very well, but one that if you get it is very important to your roster. Patrick Paul, good arm length, good athleticism, great pickup, I think. Jalen Wright, you said it's not a big need, and I do agree. But I also had an early second round grade on him. Yeah. And I don't have anywhere near that grade for any of your current running backs, to be honest. So I think that you will be very pleasantly surprised with them. And that's sort of the case, I think, with a lot of their later picks, which my favorite strategies in the draft when it comes to picking positions, you sort of have I do like pairing a quarterback with a wide receiver in your draft. I do like drafting wide receivers late in your draft because I find that there's a lot of depth talent there. But more than anything, I like draft the best player available and then trade or use free agency for your needs. It is so much easier to get the guys that you need through free agency or through trades than it is through the draft. So take the guy that fell too far and is like maybe not what you need right now, but opens up the ability to make these trades. Now you can move on from A-Chain if you want to.
I don't want to move on from A-Chain.
I know you probably don't want to. You might not want to move on from Mostert, but once Jalen Wright comes out and proves how talented he is, maybe you will. Maybe you'll pick up some higher draft capital or another position of need. Maybe you'll get your defensive tackle through that trade.
Yeah.
So take the best guy, develop them, and then trade. So I thought that they did the best out of these three teams that we like, not by a wide margin because they did ignore some of their needs, and they did not necessarily get the best guy when they were drafting in the first and second round, but really talented guys there. So.
Well, now we'll switch over to chatting about the NBA postseason round one. And
was that happening right now?
Yeah, I'll get the graphic later. We've already chatted about several of the series. Obviously, we chatted about the Timberwolves and the Thunder, so not much need to hit on them again. Been chatting about the Boston series a little bit, the Nuggets series. So
I love this graphic.
Let's chat about the series that are happening right now tonight, Tuesday night. Got 76ers, Knicks, Magic, Cavs, and then Bucks, Pacers. And I think we can probably all say the most surprising series is the Knicks leading 3-1 over the Sixers right now. Something no one expected. I said when we were giving our predictions that I almost picked the Knicks, and you guys looked at me like I was a nutcase. But here we are. So
yeah, I'm completely wrong on that. I'll gladly accept that.
I thought Embiid was healthy.
Yeah, I mean the fact that Embiid has still been a little bit hurt, and then it doesn't help the Sixers' case that Jalen Brunson has been playing out of his goddamn mind. The guy has been a man on a mission for the Knicks.
Also, briefly to talk about the Timberwolves and Suns, all three of us picked the Suns, and then two of us at least said, although it was unanimous, we think it'll be a good series. It was not a good series. It was not the Suns. So, yeah.
Anthony Edwards hurt us.
Yeah, he did. He took that personally.
I don't know if I can like Anthony Edwards more than I do right now. Like, Stephen A. Smith was making comps to Jordan and Kobe and just his relentless playoff personality and the way he attacks everyone. I think it's a little too early to say all of that, but I mean, he proved that you should start looking at him like that. The way he went up against Kevin Durant every single matchup, like I think he said in one of his interviews, like, I want to kill anything in front of me. And he did. Like, that man is insane. And carried his team to a sweep against a very good team.
Yeah, for sure. But other series going on, Magic Cavs, I think a little bit. We knew it was going to be a good series. Currently 2-2. I'm curious to hear from you guys. If the Cavs wind up losing in this series, will the panic button need to be hit in Cleveland? Will there need to be some things that need to change up after 2 back-to-back years of going out in the first round to lesser favored teams?
I honestly don't know if we even need to wait to see who wins it. I think you should be panicking if you're the Cavs. Like, you should be beating the Magic, and props to the Magic. They are playing so well. The Wagner brothers are awesome. Banchero's legit. Like, they're a really fun team. But Cavs should not be struggling the way that they are. And with what they did last season as well, you got to start thinking about what you're going to do differently, especially on the rebounds. Like, you have both Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley, and you're a bad rebounding team. It's like, you shouldn't have both of them then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird situation to be in because they are young enough that it shouldn't really be an issue, but they're also like showing some cracks in their current construction. So I don't think it's at all a blow it up situation, but it is certainly a reevaluate situation. You got to figure out why this team isn't working out the way that they should.
For sure. And on the flip side of that, if you're an Orlando Magic fan, you're on absolute cloud 9 right now watching these guys play in the playoffs. I mean, Paolo has stepped up to the plate well. Franz Wagner has just been an unstoppable force. Even Mo, out of nowhere, has looked great. And so I think this is another team, kind of like the Timberwolves, not quite obviously on that level yet, but a team as a fan base you can be very excited about for years to come because they are so young. It's crazy. And they are very, very talented.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. And then really the final one to talk about is Bucks Pacers. And I feel like my thought for this series is this is quite possibly the worst possible outcome for the Bucks this year. Not just because of going down in the first round, but going down in the first round with Giannis and Dame both injured. So you can't even come out of this thinking the Giannis and Dame experiment didn't work. Like, you can still have that mentality in your brain of like, oh, we haven't gotten to see it yet. Like, we never put it together in the playoffs with them because they were injured. So the Bucks have justification to go into next season thinking like, oh, we'll just rewind. We'll just do more or less the same thing. And that sucks for the Bucks. Obviously for them, it'd be much better to come out of the season going, okay, should we stick with the Dame and Giannis combination? Should we try and plug any holes anywhere? But they're just not really getting enough information to do that, which sucks for them.
Yeah. Yeah, not much more to say than that there. I mean, they looked like a killer. And now they are being killed by Tyrese Halliburton is very talented, but the rest of this Pacers roster is largely like depth pieces trying to break out. And it's a 3-1 hole right now. In fact, the game's happening right now. What's the score at?
They haven't started yet.
Oh, okay.
No, it doesn't start till 7:30.
Yeah, but it might all end tonight, and I don't think that will surprise anyone at this point. But it also, sadly, isn't enough information for them to really go on forward. So it's a weird series.
Yeah. It's one of the few ones where the team that is like winning and is winning in a fashion I didn't expect, I don't even really want to give them tons of props.
Yeah.
Like, Halliburton's amazing. He's been playing really well. Siakam has stepped it up in the playoffs. I got to give credit to him. Like they're playing well and they're beating a fragile team that I kind of think they should beat, as crazy as it is for this young of a and like new of a team to be doing. But I don't know. I'm way more excited for their next series against probably the Knicks to see what they can do there, because both of those teams are like, oh, these are kind of fun, little weird, interesting teams.
Right.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I do think the Knicks will still walk away with that. But I think the Pacers can make it a fun series for sure.
For sure. Other series I realized, obviously that wasn't the last one to talk about. We have quite possibly the best series so far is Mavericks Clippers.
Yeah.
With Luka attempting to just will that crap roster that the Mavericks have to the second round of the postseason. And I mean, the fact that it's 2-2 right now, again, kind of like we were saying, if you're the Clippers, this is justification for panicking, whether you make it out of the series or not. Like, you went out and you got James Harden, you have Paul George, you have Kawhi. I know Kawhi's been hurt, but you look at the Clippers roster, and this should be a roster that can beat that Mavericks roster. And the Mavericks are staying right with them. I mean, game 4, the Clippers had a 26-point lead at one point, and the Mavericks almost won that game. That is
Mavericks completely overtook the deficit. They were ahead, and then
it was insane.
Yeah. So
this is a weird series for me because it is the closest series. It is the best series. I also have no faith in either of these teams. Like, as soon as you're going to be facing, like, the Thunder, I think should easily win this. And if either of them manage somehow to make it past the Thunder, like, you're not getting past Minnesota or Denver. Like, and Clippers should be a team with their construction that should be able to go up against those teams, but they're clearly not. And I mean, Mavericks, props to Luka. He's playing phenomenal. Like, he is the biggest bright spot of this series. Another thing I think is interesting about the Clippers is that the 2 games they won were the ones that Kawhi wasn't playing.
That's super weird.
So just cut him.
Yeah, honestly.
Obviously the problem.
I mean,
we move on from there.
We've kind of seen this with other teams, right? Like, you hit a certain point where you almost have too many mouths to feed. And I think that might just be and it worked during the regular season, to be fair. And maybe it's just the fact that Kawhi's hurt right now, so him being on the court is just more of a deficit. But like, the Suns, it clearly didn't work. The Nets, it clearly didn't work. The Sixers, when they had their big 3, it clearly didn't work. You just kind of hit a point where you have so many cooks in the kitchen, all trying to score, all trying to be maybe the lead guy, that especially when you're putting James Harden in there, mother of God, it complicates things a bit.
Yeah, I think the too many mouths problem is always a bigger problem in the postseason than the regular one.
Yeah, for sure.
Because in the regular season, you have a larger rotation. You can sort of spread these guys out a little bit more and feed them, like, allow them to bring success to the bench. But when you're in the postseason with a more constricted lineup, then you start to see some of the cracks forming, and that's happening a little bit for both of these teams right now. We'll sort of see what happens to whoever makes it out of this round. I think that if I'm the Mavericks, I look at sort of like what I said with the Cavaliers. I look at retooling and sort of adjusting my roster more than anything. If I'm the Clippers, you said, is it time to panic? I think that they are a couple of years late.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that they have been significantly underperforming every single year that they've had this team together. Starting in 2019, I think, was the first time that they had it all.
Yeah. And
their assets just keep getting less and less valuable as they let the clock tick. So it's time for them to blow this team up. This is one that I think that is not a retooling by any means. They just, while you still can, follow Sam Presti's example and get what you can.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah, totally agree.
All right.
Real quick before we move on, can we discuss the only set upcoming matchup of Minnesota Denver? I want to hear you guys' takes on this after seeing a full series.
I mean, I definitely think when we were making our picks, I don't think we all had the Suns coming out of that series, but definitely major underestimation of the Timberwolves. And I think Denver definitely has to be scared of Minnesota. I still think Denver will come out of it, especially Michael Porter Jr. has been playing phenomenal lately, which is exactly what Denver needs him to do. Michael, the ball stops here, Porter. But it's going to be a tight series. I would not be surprised if it goes 6 or 7 games because the Timberwolves are going to put up a heck of a fight.
Yeah, I mean, it was both of the last 2 seasons, the regular season was split for the season series. So 2-2, 2-2. And then in the postseason last year, it was a 4-1 win for the Nuggets. Although it's not to say that the Timberwolves didn't give this team more of fits than 4-1 would imply, just like how I think that the Lakers were a lot closer than 4-1 probably would imply as well. But ultimately, I do think that the Nuggets are going to come out of this on top. I think that the Lakers were the perfect team to sort of warm up to facing this team in the Timberwolves who is able to be very physical. They play a little bit more finesse, a little bit more than the Lakers do, where the Lakers are like largely bully ball. The Timberwolves are more skilled, but still very tall and strong. And I think that the Nuggets are going to be able to sort of withstand any onslaught that the Timberwolves throw out, and then just outscore them in the end. That's what it takes to win, right? Score more points than the opponent.
That is the key.
How many games do you think, Jonathan? How many do you think the Timberwolves can take?
6 games.
Okay. Respectful.
Yeah. I think that they're a little bit too early still to be able to take it further than 6, but I think that they will get potentially the most wins against the Nuggets of anyone this playoffs. If Denver makes it all the way to Boston, then Boston might stand a chance at claiming that title too. But I fear the Timberwolves at this point more than anyone left in the West. So,
Micah, since you asked, what do you think?
I think Denver is clearly the better team. I mean, reigning champions. I will say if Timberwolves played like they did against the Suns and Nuggets played like they did against the Lakers, I think Timberwolves come out of this. I was not that impressed with how the Nuggets played pretty much the entire series. There were a few stretches where they were like put it together, made incredible comebacks. Jamal Murray is an incredible closer. He showed that he is special in the playoffs. Like you said, Evan, MPJ is on a tear right now. Like, he's playing incredible. But like it didn't feel very pretty watching it. Even though they won nearly all the games, especially last game, Jokic had like 7 turnovers on just like lazy passes. They didn't feel that focused. They felt slow. And Timberwolves on the other end came out incredibly hot against a really good team. Like, they played better against a better team than the Nuggets did against a worse team, I think. Again, I think Nuggets are the better team. If I had to put money on it, I would say Nuggets come out of it. But I think they need to step it up from what they did last series. And if they don't, I think Timberwolves walk away with it.
Yeah, it's a good point.
That's fair.
I don't think I was not impressed with a single first half that the Nuggets played. There was one fourth quarter that I was disappointed in, and that was the one loss.
Yeah.
if they play that fourth quarter every quarter, it'll be a 4-game series. If they sleepwalk, then it'll be a different thing. So.
All right. Well, to cap things out, we'll finish off with some trivia here. And I was inspired by the NFL draft. So in that inspiration, we will not be talking about the NFL at all. We're going to be talking about the NBA draft. So we are going to be doing 21st century number one overall picks. So from the year 2000 until this year, 2023, we're going back to my grid system that I love so much. You'll be getting the grid and seeing every single year. I'll exit out of this and show you it in just a sec. But the first row, all the recent picks, or the first 2 rows of the most recent picks, you will not be given the team that they were drafted by. The most recent 6, you will just be getting the year, and that's it. The second row, you will be getting the year and their position. And in the last 2 rows, the oldest picks, you will be getting their team and position they were drafted by. Every single tile does have a different point value because some, like 2023, are obviously a lot easier than 2004. I don't even know who was on 2004. Never mind, 2004 is easy. Think of a different year. But with that being said, we'll jump into this here. I'm going to, Jonathan, heads or tails?
Tails.
Tails, I'm guessing you would like to serve?
Yep.
All right. Jonathan, take it away whenever you're ready. 47 points available on the board.
That one's only worth 1. I thought it might be better. It's fair, though.
And I do have, for the ones that don't have teams showing, if you guys both agree to get a hint for a year, I can give you the team name. Obviously, whoever's up to the plate when the hint is available will have the advantage. But so.
Man, I hate this. I hate it already.
And we'll play. We'll go 8 strikes. You're out.
What was the order of those 2?
All right, Jonathan, you got 10 seconds. You're gonna have to send it.
What?
Or just pick an easy one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
2021 was Anthony Edwards.
That is incorrect.
Really?
All right. See, is Micah going to go to the easy route, or is he going to go after some of the harder ones?
I think I might pick the same. I think that was 21 because I think that was 22. Was 2021 Cade Cunningham?
Yep. That was the 2 that was between.
It was Cade Cunningham. So 2 points to Micah here.
Oh, I didn't see we had the positions at the bottom. I should have. No, not for the first row, though.
No, first row. I was mean to you guys on the first row. I was curious to see how well you guys remember recent years.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back.
Oh, frick. Do I keep giving him free points if I get them wrong?
I'm a fan.
Or you can just pick off the 1-pointers, the easy ones, and Turn the tables on Micah.
I don't win if I pick the 1-pointers.
I'm just letting you guys know now, if either of you get a 3-pointer, I will be extraordinarily impressed. So I'm not sure I would worry about those.
What's that? I hate this shit.
All right, 10 seconds, Jonathan. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Give me a
23
pick.
is Wemby.
Okay.
Just need a little more time to figure out this one until Micah answers right now and takes it.
All right.
Oh, was that long ago? There's a 2-pointer that I just started looking at. I was like, that could be him.
All right, and after Micah's turn here, I'll be instituting a 30-second clock for both of you.
All right. Is the 2009 for the Clippers Blake Griffin?
That is Blake Griffin. 2 points to Micah. All right, Jonathan, clock starts now.
Was 2016 Ben Simmons?
2016 was Ben Simmons. Heck of a snipe.
Wow. All right.
Ten seconds.
2008 Bulls is Derrick Rose?
Yes, it is. That is D Rose. The amount of focus and concentration emanating from the screen right now is palpable. 10 seconds. 5, 3, 2, 1. Jonathan.
2017 is Markelle Fultz.
That is correct. Markelle Fultz, indeed. Back-to-back Sixers #1 overall picks.
Well, there's some nice snags. I'll give you that. That one. Oh, that was a bad pick. Oh, what was his name?
Are you looking at the 2013 3-pointer?
I'm not going to say.
He's looking at the Blazers. He should know the Blazers.
10 seconds.
I'm hoping you don't know it.
5, 4, 3.
22 is Banchero.
Yep. Obviously, 2022 Paolo Banchero. Franchise-changing pick there.
Huh.
Oh, I'm so close.
2020 was Anthony Edwards.
That is correct. 2 points to Jonathan. Tying the game up here. Guys, you're doing good. You're hitting that top row well. Getting the recent ones out of the way. All right, 10 seconds, Micah. 5,
2011 is Kyrie.
2011 is Kyrie Irving, yes. Jonathan, down by 1.
"2019 is Zion."
Yes, it is Zion Williamson there in 2019. Jonathan takes a 1-point lead.
Gosh.
And someone snagged the 2018. That's the question. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3.
2003 is LeBron.
Yes. Arguably the easiest pick on the board.
What was his name?
Steve, will we have a board
much
match
harder now.
here where somebody finishes things off?
You mean we'll get them all?
Yeah, will we actually
I
get all
doubt
the
it.
names revealed? 10 seconds, Jonathan. 5,
I think
4,
this was right
3.
around the right time. The Rockets. Wait, why are those years the way that they are?
Yeah,
sorry.
your last two are off.
Okay.
Yeah.
In that case, the Rockets is Yao Ming.
It is Mr. Yao.
Okay. I know you have. I don't remember which person you took over KD and which person you took over MJ. I think I got it though.
I might be using that this round. That's the last for sure one I have.
I mean, you guys got lots of strikes left, so.
I know, but I don't want to
10.
use them.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Greg Oden.
Yeah.
For which year?
2007.
Had to make sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Question.
So 1 point lead for Jonathan.
Who the hell was that?
It's been the question this entire game. Ten seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jonathan.
2004 was Penny Hardaway.
You're about a decade late there, my guy. That is incorrect. Now I'm actually curious.
Is 2018 Marvin Bagley?
That is incorrect as well, Mike.
Okay.
I think you just gave Jonathan a hint, though. He's acting as if that was an important piece of information. By the way, Jonathan, yes, you were exactly a decade late on the penny hardware.
Shit. Oh, man, I want to get there now.
10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jonathan.
2013 is Evan Fournier.
No.
It's a 3-point pick, maybe.
Stupid, Jonathan. You just narrowed it down so much for Micah in 2013.
I know, right?
You took Evan Fournier up the board. Ten seconds, Micah.
Was 2014 Malcolm Brogdon?
That's going to be my next guess.
No, he won Rookie of the Year, but it wasn't.
But he was not the one.
He was
that
not
was
the
what
one
I thought was the case. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just remembering that Game of Zones episode.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, what is Malcolm?
He did win it.
Yeah.
He was not any 101.
No, he was drafted 2016. Because remember that was the draft year when like everybody got hurt. Ben Simmons, like everybody was injured.
Oh, right, because that was the year Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he kind of just won it by default. Jonathan, 10 seconds.
You kidding?
Yeah. Yes, I was kidding. I just thought that was good.
Okay.
That was awesome.
Oh man, Evan.
Always on the clock, bruh. Come on. Oh, and in case you guys are interested, Jonathan, you have 3 strikes. Mike, you have 2. 10 seconds now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So I'll preface this by saying I think he was the year before and he was the 102, but 2015 was Joel Embiid.
That is incorrect.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, what was his name?
Wow, you both had like epiphanies there at the exact same time. That was fun.
I mean, if I'm right.
Get him down, get him down, get him down.
Oh, shoot.
10 seconds.
Oh, it's right there.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Micah.
2013 Anthony Davis?
2013 Anthony Davis is incorrect.
Weird.
That was apparently what Jonathan was targeting. And
No, I forgot that he was picked highly, and now I'm gonna go for 2012 Anthony Davis.
2012 is Anthony Davis.
Thanks, Micah.
All right, 3-point lead to Jonathan. All right, is Micah going to start risking it all on those 3-pointers, or is he going to keep chipping away? That's the real question.
I mean, I don't know any of these.
I'm pretty sure I know one, and I feel like I'm close on another.
I mean, I think I know one, but if I'm wrong, it's a gimme to you.
10 seconds.
What is
5,
his name?
4, 3, 2.
It's 2010 John Wall.
2010 is John Wall.
Oh,
Good
thank God.
time.
I was so scared that was going to be Beal.
I think Beal was a late first rounder, actually.
Yeah, but if it wasn't Wall, it was very clearly Beal.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, hit it.
Just say it.
2014 is Wiggins.
2014 is, in fact, Andrew Wiggins.
Oh, nice.
I was like, I knew the Cavs had another one because that's such a bullshit thing to happen. But
Even though he was technically picked by the Cavs, but then went to the T-Wolves.
yeah.
And Mike, if at any point you would like to concede, you can if you want to. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I have nothing.
Okay, pass, take a strike. That's fine. All right, Jonathan, over
How many
to you.
strikes are we each at? And how many do we get again?
You're both at 4. Let's take it down to 6. Because you guys have already taken a lot of pieces off the board. Ten seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I got nothing yet.
Okay. Jonathan down to his last strike. Micah, over to you. Ten seconds. 5, 4, 3. 2.
2013 Mario Hazonia.
It is not Mario Hazonia. I really wish it was. That would be so beautiful.
I figured it out. 2018 is DeAndre Ayton.
It is DeAndre Ayton there in 2018.
Was Marvin Bagley like 2 in that
He
draft?
was second.
Yeah, he was the second guy. And then Trae Young, and then Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
Micah's last attempt here at a comeback.
I'm probably so far off on 2015, but I like know who I'm thinking of, and I can't get his name. It's probably not even the right team.
That's where I'm at too. It's like if I knew the team, that I'd have an okay shot at it.
10 seconds. 5.
I also
3.
I should know it.
2, 1. Micah, what you got?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, that wraps it. Jonathan, you officially win. Do you want to try and snipe any of the rest of these, or do you want me to just unveil?
I really wish I knew 15. I did at one point because that's Jokic's draft.
Who is the team for 2015?
Yeah.
The Minnesota Timberwolves.
Oh,
Cat.
is that Cat?
Yeah, it's Karl Anthony Towns.
Dang.
Yeah.
Who was the team for 13?
2013 team was the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Anthony Bennett?
It was Anthony Bennett, yeah. A guy so bad he doesn't even have a stat news. All right.
Give me a first initial for the Raptors.
I'll give you both initials. A-B.
Aaron Baines.
No.
Anthony Bennett.
No, I'm just going to – you guys are never going to – this was Andrea Bargnani.
Yeah.
All right, 2005, I personally find absolutely hilarious. This is Andrew Bogut.
Ew.
Oh. Huh.
I am shocked that you guys didn't get the Magic. That's
Yeah,
Dwight
very
Howard.
disappointed in myself.
Oh, duh.
Wow.
Yeah, I was thinking way too old and way
Yeah.
too early.
There was a reason I stopped guessing on the Magic. I didn't want to give him any hints, but I should have gotten that one.
Initials
right.
for the Wizards?
KB.
Bullshit.
Are all of them AB? Andrew
No.
Bogut again?
K.
K.
Oh.
KB.
Kevin Barnett.
I have no idea.
This is Kwame Brown.
Kwame Brown. He can't play.
And then the last one,
Scrub.
the last initials are KM.
Kevin Malone.
No, about 2 decades too late.
Got the initials though.
Kevin McHale.
Like about 3 decades too late.
Kale McHale.
Kyle Mooney.
No. This is Kenyon Martin.
Oh,
okay.
Shoot. All right. GG's, Micah. Evan, thanks for running it. And finally, a pod that's not 2 hours long, unless I'm watching the clock incorrectly. But thank you all for tuning in. And I hope you enjoyed the pod. And as always, we'll send it out with a hot take. Over to you, Evan.
The Oklahoma City Thunder are going to be your 2024 NBA champions.
All right.
The 1 seed will win it. You heard it here first.
Ooh, hot take.
That was good.
Good night, all.
Good night, Evan.